And, of course, now Epiphany 2 at night. This is the big, oh my gosh, it's over exhale. And I'm always so sad to say goodbye to Christmas. To actually have this moment close. Because it means that life speeds up. I know in the calendar of Vail, there are only about 7 days of the year. If Vail Resorts published a calendar, they'd only list 7 days. Doesn't it seem like we lurch from one moment to the next, and more and more rapidity the older one gets? But before we launch off into a great church season of Epiphany, before it's very short this year, I'll warn you, Lent is coming quick. Easter is about as early as it can possibly be. Before that, we get a chance to stop and exhale. It's a very special night. It's a very special night for me. I'm an Epiphany kid. If you worship Christ long enough, you will find yourself in one of these feasts, one of these seasons, one of these moments, you go, wow, that's me. I'm standing here tonight in the stole that my wife gave me 23 years ago this week because I was priested on the Feast of the Epiphany 23 years ago. I chose this night to be marked for the entirety of my priesthood in the story that you've just heard. Why would I do that? Why not Christmas? Why not Easter? Why Epiphany? I'm an Epiphany kid. My dad, I know this shocks you because I explain it by saying that the math gene skips a generation. My dad was a mathematician, is a mathematician. My dad worked for NASA. I was that kid with my brother that had the little lights from the machine. Did anybody else have this? Projected up onto the ceiling of the bedroom to look at the constellations at night. I was the kid, because I had no friends growing up, that made those hangers with the round solar system. 9 planets, by the way. Pluto also, as God ordained it to be. And I would hang the planets. Did anybody else make those round planets and globes, right? There's an amen. Okay, I was that kid that watched launches go up from the Kennedy Space Center. And we made computers. My dad helped make an Apollo command module mock-up. And my brother and I sat in it and turned all the switches. That's me. And I was that kid that got the Hobby Kit telescope. And in Florida, you can actually sit out and not freeze. And look at the stars. And my dad only had one question when we were out looking through that telescope. Does anybody know what the question my dad always asked? He said, son, make sure you find the right star. Because if you find the right star, you'll know where everything else is supposed to be. I'm an Epiphany kid. I've been looking for that star my entire life. The light that brings you into truth and shows you where to go. Can I tell you that I realize I've been with wise men my entire life. So cool to have a daughter that's reading the stories that meant so much to me. So cool to have a daughter that read Beowulf in school. She declined my offer to bring the arm of Grendel, bought off the internet, into class. I don't know why she didn't want me to do that. It would have been a great sharing moment. But anyway, and do you know there's no King Arthur, as my daughter's reading Arthur. There's no King Arthur without who? Merlin. Merlin. Guinevere is a different story. He would have been better off. God, man from Texas, Guinevere, come on. Merlin, the magician. Merlin, around whom? Everybody seen the movie Excalibur? Everything happens around Merlin, the wizard. And then I met Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. Then I met Duncan Idaho, if you read Dune. Or perhaps it's a Dumbledore, if you happen to break that way with Harry Potter. Show me a story where there is not a wise man. I've been influenced by wise men and women my entire life. I had a parish mentor that said, no joke, Mary and Joseph, easy to find in a church. 12 disciples, a little bit harder. Wait and look and see who cleans up afterwards. If 12 of them stay, you can go to that church. That was very wise advice, by the way. And then he said, if you can find 3 wise men, you go to that church. Do you know that the night I interviewed to be your rector, 2 out of the 3 men on this altar were sitting there? I walked out of that interview and I knew 20 years ago that God was calling me here because there were wise men and women in this church. And I listened to them. I know it sounds funny now, but true. It's actually really, really true. Do you know that the wise men were considered, what's the word we use, magi? It's where you get the word magic and magician. They weren't just sleight of hand. Wise men in the ancient world were men that were looked to. They were not kings. Gaspar became a king. Ask him, he'll tell you. Afterwards, after he sees Jesus, they were not kings. They were scientists. They were astronomers. They would interpret the signs of the world and tell the sovereigns of the world what to do. Why did Darius and Xerxes invade Europe? Because their wise men told them to do it. And world history has been different ever since. Has anybody ever been to Athens? One of the leading ancient cities of the world, named after the goddess of what? Wisdom. Wise men and women had dreams and interpreted the dreams. They saw the future. They cut animals. We're not going to do this tonight. We're not serving that to you. Larry would love that. But cut animals, open them up, and look at the insides and tell you what was going to happen in the future. Wise men and women had abilities and knowledge that not everybody got. When that star rises in the heavens, there are hundreds of wise men and women all over the Far East and the Near East. Matthew doesn't tell you that of all of those that saw this one star that was so bright they'd never seen it before, Matthew doesn't tell you that only three, were brave enough to make this journey. We were talking before, and one of our wise men said, when did we meet each other? I said, I don't know. Matthew doesn't say. My vision after 23 years of these readings is that they met on the road, following the star. They're going to the same place. And they all brought a gift. I'm an Epiphany boy because every time I think I bring Jesus a gift, and it's a pretty good gift too, Jesus always gives me something better. You see, the most important gift in Epiphany wasn't gold or frankincense or myrrh. The most important gift was Jesus himself. Friends, I tell you that because there are some people that really need a wise man and a woman in their lives. They need someone that will interpret the signs and the seasons. Why is this happening? Why now? Why me? What about this or that? And God sends us wise men and women. The men up here, all four of them, have been wise for me. And sometimes we need a wise man or woman to speak into our lives. Sometimes we need a star. What was my father's question when I was looking through the telescope as a kid? Are you looking at the right star? Because if you look and find the right star, all the rest of the universe falls into place. Epiphany is a great time for all of us to stop for a second as we start a new calendar year and ask, are we following the right star? Are you seeing the brightest light that there is? Because if you're following any other star, if I follow any other star, I'll mess up my life and everything around because I'm literally not navigating correctly. Jesus always shines the brightest. The light that's real will always bring you to Christ. And if that light's bringing you anywhere else, friends, you're looking in the wrong place. As I have looked in the wrong place. It's a profoundly sacred night to celebrate the gift of the Christ child. I hope that you were blessed with the light of the star, leading you to Jesus, who is wisdom himself. The wise men knew that. I kind of think actually Gandalf knew that too. Do we know it tonight? As we sit and eat a beautiful meal with the nicest people you'll ever meet, you're seated right next to them. A beautiful, happy Epiphany to all of you. Let's follow the star.